What is
Okay,
on?
fine. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. Once again, my name is Aminu Shitu. I'm from the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine here in the Usman Ofodo University, Sokoto in Nigeria. I would like to invite Dr. Yahaya Yabo to introduce the AfriScience network so that we can begin the today's webinar. Thank you.
Okay, hello, good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce the AfriScience network. At AfriScience Network, our aim is to promote multidisciplinary research and innovation in Africa. We currently have nearly 8,000 members across 8 WhatsApp groups with members from different African countries. Our platforms are always open for robust discussions on different scientific topics. We encourage members to share valuable scientific contents in the platforms and also engage in evidence-based discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yabo, for that brief and interesting introduction of the AfriScience Network. So without further ado, I will go on and read the citation of Professor Abel Idowu Olayinka, who is with us today. Professor Abel Idowu Olayinka obtained a Bachelor of Science degree in Geology from the prestigious University of Ibadan in Nigeria, a Master of Science in Geophysics from Imperial College, University of London, and PhD in Geophysics from the University of Birmingham in the UK. He had postdoctoral experience in Germany at Technical University Braunschweig as a German Academic Exchange Service, DAD, visiting scholar, and at Technical University Berlin as Alexander von Humboldt Research Fellow. He joined the faculty at the University of Ibadan in April 1988 as lecturer grade 2. He was promoted lecturer grade 1 in 1991, senior lecturer in 1994, and professor effective 1st October 1999. He has successfully supervised 18 PhD theses in various areas of applied geophysics and has served as visiting professor, external examiner, and external assessor for professorial candidates in many universities. He has been a member of the Senate of the University of Ibadan between 1994 to 1997, and from 1999 till date, he has served the university in different capacities, including as head of the Department of Geology, chairman, Senate Curriculum Committee, sub-dean postgraduate, Faculty of Science, sub-dean postgraduate school, deputy vice chancellor academic, and vice chancellor. As head of Department of Geology in 2001 and 2002, and 2006 to 2010, he was involved in fund generation from alumni, corporate institutions, and friends. The fund mobilized during such campaigns was used to upgrade teaching, learning, and research facilities and the environment. As Dean of the Postgraduate School between 2002 to 2006, he established a scholarship scheme and a teaching and research assistantship scheme for postgraduate students. He established the Overseas Conference Grants for postgraduate teachers. He facilitated a workshop on globalization of scholarly journals, encouraged inter and transdisciplinary research through the Interdisciplinary Research Discourse series. He facilitated workshops on methodology of basic and applied research, facilitated workshops on writing grant proposals for academic staff, facilitated a workshop on writing PhD thesis for research students, and facilitated the publication of 36 academic titles. As Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic from 2010 to 2014, he assisted in implementing the university's strategic plan. His primary responsibility was to establish enduring structures to facilitate good governance, encourage scholarship and research, as well as improve staff welfare. As Vice Chancellor, he provided leadership that led to University of Ibadan being in the top 401 to 500 in the Times Higher Education ranking. There was an expansion of the academic programs with the establishment of 4 new faculties, including the first faculty of multidisciplinary studies in West Africa and 22 new academic departments. He strengthened the admission process into the undergraduate programs, with many of the students winning laurels in internal and external examinations. He convened the first international conference in research and innovation management in West Africa in 2006, and subsequently served as the foundation president of the West African Research and Innovation Management Association, WARIMA, between 2006 to 2015. He was chairman of the board of directors of the African Research Universities Alliance, ARUA, comprising 16 research-intensive universities in Africa with headquarters in South Africa. He served as a member of the Council of Association of Commonwealth Universities in London. He has received significant accolades in his professional career. He is fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Science, fellow Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, NEP, fellow of the Nigerian Mining and Geosciences Society, NMGS, fellow Nigerian Association of Hydrogeologists, fellow Nigerian Association for Engineering, Geology and the Environment, and fellow and chartered geologist of the Geological Society of London, fellow Nigerian Association of Educational Planning and Administration. He received the Osun State Merit Award in 2024. Currently, he is the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council of West Midlands Open University and a member of the Council of Adeleke University. He is Chairman of the Board of Directors of Multiverse Mining and Exploration Nigeria, PLC. Professor Olayinka is happily married to Dr. Eyumi Bolutito Olayinka. She's a senior lecturer in French at the University of Ibadan, and the union is blessed with a beautiful daughter and a son. Thank you very much, and ladies and gentlemen, please let us welcome our exceptional speaker for today, Professor Abel Idowu Olayinka, for the 22nd webinar of the AfriScience Network, which is titled In the Pursuit of Excellence as a University Academic. You're highly welcome, sir, and the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, Prof, loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, the first thing is to thank the AfriScience Network for the invitation they kindly extended to me. And in specific terms, I'd like to acknowledge my colleague, Professor Kehinde Shueti, for offering me this platform that I've been invited. I think it's not just because I've been Vice Chancellor of University of Ibadan. It was just because someone nominated me. I think we have almost 300 universities in Nigeria, so you could have invited people from any other university. And I understand it's about the 21st or 22nd webinar that you have me. So I appreciate Dr. Aminu Shitu for the logistic support. And up till a few minutes ago, I've been in contact with him, even though I'm not sure we met in person. So I mean, over the course of the next 1 hour, I'm supposed to share my thoughts with you. And I'm happy that I could even see on the call here this morning, at least one former teacher of mine, Professor Derinde, who taught me all the chemistry that I know as an undergraduate. So I think the idea is that those who are even more experienced than me are on this call. Then I'm sure we probably have a few postgraduate students, early career researchers. I think learning is a continuous process. So for our presentation this morning, we just mentioned one or two keywords. Then what are the responsibilities of an academic, specifically in the university? I mean, we already know that in our letter of appointment, it says that we have to carry out duties assigned to us by our head of department. So in the process, we teach students, we also conduct research, then a community public service. We could have consultants, whether in your department as seminar coordinator, exam coordinator, I think it's part of service. Then in the university, maybe you are head of department, you are dean of your faculty, or member of Senate, because without all those administrative positions, the system will not work properly. And I think because we are individuals, but on the other hand, we are also part of the ecosystem. You have to operate within the department. Like I said, that is the most important unit in the university. There's no academic staff in the university, for example, who doesn't belong to a department. You may not see the vice chancellor throughout his 5-year tenure, but if you don't see your head of department, then it means there is a problem. As we are going to show you in one of the slides, you must attend even all meetings in the departments. Since I returned to the University of Ibadan from my accumulated leave on the 7th of November, about 2 months ago, there's been only one faculty board of science, but I attended. And hopefully in 48 hours from now, there will be a Senate meeting. I also need to be there because if I think I'm tired of attending those meetings, then I can as well ask for voluntary retirement. So just the point is that as the assistant lecturer has a duty to perform, the most senior professor also has a duty to perform. Even the vice chancellor also has his own roles, deans, faculty or faculties, heads of department, provost. It's only when all those various parts are working well, as you can think your university is doing so well. I think the idea is if there are, like a University of Ibadan, maybe we have about 125 departments. If about 20 of them are 5-star departments, then it means the university is doing very well. Maybe over the course of the last 20 years, 25 years, we now talk of ranking. But beyond that, I mean, you have to be sure of what we are doing. I mean, we are there because of students. Otherwise, the university will not be any different from a research institute. They also carry out research in the various research institutes, but they don't have students. That's why we have the comparative advantage. And the university is a going concern, a very conservative institution, just like the church and the military. Very conservative, but on the other hand, you also have to be innovative. So it becomes a challenge for you to reach a balance. You are in a conservative institution that is expected to be at the leading edge of innovation and creativity. So in terms of, I mean, these are simple terms that we are familiar with, but just to clear any doubt about it, excellence in this context, when I check from the dictionary.com, it says facts or state of training, superiority, eminence. And some of the synonyms with excellence will include greatness, merit, perfection, because of course only God is perfect. So we just strive and try our best. Quality, supremacy, virtue. Universities, of course, we all know that universities are universities. Then the university academic, you and I. And like I mentioned on one of the slides, because when we talk of academic staff, we already know whether it's a graduate assistant, assistant lecturer, lecturer 2 or lecturer 1, not lecturer up to professors. But the truth of the matter is undergraduates are also part of the ecosystem. You give them term papers. Some brilliant ideas could come out of that. Not to talk of when they now get to their final year. Maybe I mean for the conventional 4-year or 5-year program, they do a project, a research project. I mean, quite different from a master's or a PhD is. But I've also seen instances in which people are able to publish even from BSc projects. So those students, I mean, of course, under the supervision of a member of the faculty, a senior member of the faculty. So the students to that extent are also academics. They are not just our apprentices, like those who go to mechanic workshops. Their bosses won't teach them the secrets of the trade for the first 4 years until they want to just pass out. So the academics is a bit very special. So your students can actually challenge you. So you don't claim that you know everything. All of us stand on the shoulder of the giants. So like I said, who's a university academic? Just to clear the doubt, a university academic is typically someone like a Dr. Aminu here, who works at Sokoto University, that's Usman Fodio University, or Professor Kanye Deshuet at University of Ibadan, and is involved in the fields of teaching. You have to teach your students. Then you have to also do research. But most of the time, you have to do both, because research is what differentiates us from the secondary school. In the secondary school, they teach mathematics. But the difference is that for us in the university, you have to generate new knowledge through research. You cannot just be using the same old notebook that we used to teaching you 15, 20 years ago. It refers to a wide range of roles, including professors, of course, lecturers, researchers, postdoctoral fellows. And like I've mentioned, even postgraduate students and undergraduates, they are in reality part of the ecosystem of knowledge creation and dissemination. Like when you give students an assignment, please, I don't know whether it's possible to mute some of the people, we're having a lot of interference. I mean, brilliant ideas, because the university is about generating new ideas, and ideas can come from...
Yes, sorry. Sorry, sir, Mr. Stanley Onoha, please mute yourself.
Okay.
So we said the academics, they are responsible for delivering educational content
Yeah,
to conduct research in their areas of expertise. You must have an area of expertise, otherwise you are just a professor of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You must have a research focus. You have been attempt to publish scholarly articles, even though we know it's difficult, and in our own environment, there are challenges with funding, facilities, and all that, but we should not give up, thereby contributing to the academic development in your field. You should be known for something. And the university academics are the intellectual drivers within the university setting, shaping the academic environment and advancing knowledge. You have to advance knowledge. So the state of knowledge 15, 20 years ago is not likely to be the same as of today. And for you to go about it is just by conducting research. One of our retired professors, Emeritus Professor Okogun, was the person who mentioned this second bullet to us, that as academics at the university, we are not paid to teach, rather we are paid to think. Come to think of it, you are paid to think, not just to teach. Because if you cannot think, or if you do not think, you cannot teach students. Neither can you conduct research. Otherwise, you won't be any different from just a technician. Well, this is just a cartoon showing the distribution of universities in Nigeria. I think another one was licensed either yesterday or the day before. Maybe before the end of this webinar, another 2 or 3 will have been licensed. I think we have almost 280 universities now, private, states, and federal. Of course, the challenges are similar. Then, what are universities for? We did mention that they are universities where men and women are able to enjoy richer, more meaningful life. They prepare people like you and I for professional careers such as doctors, engineers, lawyers. If you want to become a lawyer, I think you must go to a university that offers law. Then even at that, you have to go to the law school. I think that is the only way. If you want to become a doctor, or let's say a native doctor, that probably doesn't require certification, you must attend the university. Engineers, maybe you can also attend the polytechnic to become an engineer. They also give persons like you and I better appreciation of such fields as arts, literature, history, human relations, and science. So all these are interrelated, and I'm very happy that the coordinator mentioned something about AfriScience being at the forefront of interdisciplinary work. You find out that university like Harvard, they have a faculty of art and science. So art and science are in the same faculty. In doing so, university education enables individuals to participate with greater understanding in the community development. It's the highest level of education generally seen as a measurable economic asset with a return on investment and the means of producing national ascendancy. So, I mean, most serious nations in this world that I know, they take their universities very seriously. I mean, my host in Germany many years ago told me that only God is above the German professor. That only God is above the German professor. That shows the confidence they have in their university system. The goal of the academic enterprise is not growth or market share. We don't have a stock exchange where you say, oh, where is how much is the stock of University of Ibadan going today, or Benue State University or Osun State University. So our interest is intellectual excellence. It's not increased productivity. It's not how many tons of cement you are able to produce like Lafarge, or how many liters of diesel you have produced like Dangote refinery. It's not increased productivity in economic terms, but increased intensity of thinking. Remember, we mentioned a little while ago that we as academics, we are paid to think. So how good your university is, a surrogate measure of that is increased intensity of thinking. Like when you publish, if you have not been thinking, how do you publish in leading journals in your field? Some of the features that distinguish a university, first is that it's a knowledge and intellectual community. The number and variety of its stakeholders and disciplines make it impossible for it to become the preserve of any one individual, no matter how informed he or she is. The coordinator mentioned the fact that I'm a geologist. So if we now talk of chemical pathology, what do I know about chemical pathology, or economics, or law? So you must be a specialist in one particular field. And when you now, University of Ibadan, maybe we have about 1,400 academic staff, even though it has been very difficult to employ new staff in the last almost 10 years. But so you have people from all disciplines, from A to Z. So no single person can be an expert in all those fields. I mean, just know a little about your own field. Second, arising out of the first, the concentration of brain power. It makes coordination difficult. There's hardly anything you want to think of that people will not have a superior argument. So most of the time, you then have to reach a compromise. Then third, for institution modeled on the British tradition, because Nigeria university system is modeled after the British tradition. Leadership is shared or distributed. I mean, you have Senate, you have congregation, you have council, and even once in a while, the federal government, our proprietor, will set up a decision panel. But the department is knowledge of. That is where all the action is taking place. Not in the dean's office, not in the vice chancellor's office, but it's in the department where you generate activities as well as major decisions of the institutions are made. Please, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yeah, we can
Okay,
hear
I
you.
just want to be sure. Okay,
I hear
thank
you,
you.
sir.
Yes,
Prof.
we can hear you
Continue.
clearly.
Thank you. We said the membership of an academic institution gives a unique character, very rare in any other type of organization. You know, all of us, we have BSc, Masters, a PhD, they may become a lecturer, somewhere along the line they promote you to HOD. Then I never understood the fact that university is a very complex organization until, I mean, when we search the literature, that's, I mean, if you are in a First Bank or Zenith Bank, you just need to report to your board of directors at the end of the year. But in the university, you are vice chancellor, a student has a headache. I mean, it's your problem. So you have to account for the students, whether there are 15,000 students or 30,000 students, all of them, they are your words. Alumni will come, students, I mean, staff will come. So it's really a very complex situation. But most of the time, we don't really appreciate the situation in which we find ourselves. So you board of trustees, regent council, maybe for private universities. Then other stakeholders will include governments. If you are a public institution, of course, even if you are not, JAMB is a government institution. NUC in accreditation. I mean, over the last 3-4 years now, universities in Nigeria have had to contend with core curriculum, whether you like it or not. NUC will come for accreditation. All these stakeholders have major responsibility as to what you are carrying out within the 4 walls of your university. We say it is partly on account of the variety of its members and stakeholders, and they need to canvass views and build consensus. You must build consensus. People don't always have to agree, but they can agree to disagree. But you reach a consensus. You have to build consensus. You cannot be a sole administrator, and that's why the university uses the committee system as a vehicle for its operation. So when any multi-problem comes, you send it to a committee. And remember that those people in the university, they are smart people. They will always come up with a solution that everyone can live with, even including those who disagree with it initially. Then some of the characteristics, shared authority. I mean, the vice chancellor cannot be a sole administrator. Presence of faculty and students. The intellectual power is too much. They are creators of knowledge. Then bicameral system in terms of council, Senate. Senate is about academic activities, but some of those activities also have financial implications, or you want to employ new staff. So even though, I mean, it goes to council. I know at the University of Ibadan, we had a running battle as to whether the Appointment and Promotions Committee was a committee of Senate or a committee of council. Well, now maybe it's a joint committee of council and Senate, but it's chaired by the vice chancellor, who first and foremost is an academic. All the deans of faculties are members. Even each faculty has a representative, and the council also has representatives. So they are, for University of Ibadan, the Appointment and Promotions Committee is like technically a joint committee of council and Senate, but you have to report to council because council is our employer. Then some of the basic ingredients, these are stuff that we know. High concentration of talent, all we have been mentioning in the last 2 minutes. Teaching staff, researchers, administrative and support staff. Then, of course, perhaps most importantly, students. The university is a going concern that some students are exiting during the convocation, another set are coming through JAMB. So you have a steady flow of students, and many of them are very brilliant. And if your student is not even more brilliant than you, then it means you have not done your work. Some of your students should be more brilliant than you. I mean, we are Africans. You want your child to achieve more than you. So why not? And apart from the high concentration of talent, we need, as a university system now, we need abundant financial resources. You are not going to do most of this work by your bare hand. The first thing will come from the proprietor, whether it's the federal government or state government or a church or a Muslim group. I mean, you must have a a proprietor, whether public or private. So they established the university, they must be prepared to support your funding. Then second stream from the users, of course, maybe tuition fees from the students. I think the federal government now came up with a student loan scheme. The verdict is not yet out whether students are interested. Then the third stream from endowment and research grants, offering facilities to conduct advanced research, then donations, grants, and the rest of them. So these are the major sources of funding from the university. So maybe for a mature university, the third stream will be more than the second stream and the first stream. But a new university will first of all kick off with abundant funding from the proprietor. Because it's the staff that you have that are going to do research and get grants and all that. You have to start from somewhere. Then beyond the high concentration of talent and the funding, you need favorable governance in terms of a supportive regulatory framework. Then autonomy, you can't do without it. Academic freedom, people don't want the head of the family to be pointing a gun at their head. Like this Saturday morning, now see all of you here, you are university people, you are attending this seminar. Your head of the department doesn't have to know. So you don't want, it's not like a government service where you come at 8 o'clock and you close by 4. It's even better now with recent developments and with COVID-19. So people learn a lot of online teaching is going on. Leadership is very important. You have 2 departments in the university. They have similar volume of resources. One is doing very well. The other one is underperforming, just like the parable of the sower. So leadership is very important. Then strategic vision. Where do you want to be as a department, as a faculty, or as a university in the next 5 years? Or 10 years, the university will still be there in the next 10 years. But where do you want to be? It's not something you can achieve with a stroke of the pen. If you want to change the world, then you have to define how you will do it. Of course, you have to know where you are now and what will it take you to get to the desired state. And that's why most universities now come up with their vision and mission statements. Like University of Ibadan, you say you want to be world-class institution for academic excellence, geared towards improving the needs of the society. But to be a world-class institution, like we have mentioned them, you need abundance, high concentration of talent, resources, then favorable governance. So it's not just a cliche. So it won't happen over time. A university must strive to be engines of growth, centers of innovation and excellence. I mentioned that you have to innovate, even though you are supposed to be a conservative institution. There must be agents of development and wealth creation. And one thing is that it cannot be research for research's sake. You have to improve the standard of living. It's not only what you as an individual does that is going to improve the position of the university, but when we combine our efforts, then something positive should happen. Then we have to develop these virtues, not only for ourselves and the university community, but also for individuals with whom we have work and social contact, then for our surrounding communities and for the nation at large. And one slide here is going to show that university education benefits the individual, like you and I that find ourselves in the university. It also benefits the business community as well as our nation. The university exists for the advancement of society. So if we have poverty, people now talk of climate change. Who is going to solve the problem of climate change if you don't turn to your universities and your research institutes? The advancement, validation, and dissemination of knowledge are founded on cognitive categories such as free inquiry and intellectual freedom. We mentioned this one in terms of the strategic objectives. There must be intellectual freedom, rationality, intelligence. You have to recruit the best students and the best staff. Learning, academic competence and expertise, fidelity to data and knowledge, theoretical simplicity, explanatory power, conceptual elegance, and logical coherence. Otherwise, the university will just be a mediocre institution. So like I mentioned, the university education benefits the individual. If I've not had the opportunity to go to University of Ibadan for my first degree, then a higher degree elsewhere, of course, I wouldn't have had degree. In fact, you wouldn't have Dr. Aminu wouldn't have invited me. They say this one is just a barefoot expert. That university graduates, they have better employment opportunities. That was why people come to university. And that's why you also find out that in most universities, maybe in all universities, some colleges are highly competitive. Nothing is so special about them, but because those students are very smart, they're really calculating that when I finish here 4 years, 5 years or 6 years, depending on the course, I want to Japa, then which one is going to give me greater employment prospects? So they're not stupid. That's why University of Ibadan, for example, maybe last year, the cutoff for medicine was like 78, nursing was like maybe 75, law is something close to that, because students think those courses are the one that will give them better employment opportunities, and you cannot fault the logic. And the university degrees will open doors. Many jobs now demand a degree. You can learn new skills, gain knowledge from the experts, and achieve your potential. You can encourage creative and independent thoughts. Your lecturer gives you term paper, so it doesn't pretend as if he has all the solutions. I remember when I was doing my PhD at a stage towards the end, my supervisor told me that you are now in the position to be teaching me some of these things, because that has been your concern for the past 3-4 years. Then the people who come to university that are exposed to new research and technology, social exposure to new people from other cultures and backgrounds. You can make lifelong friends. It's an opportunity. That's why in a typical university, you have that are residential. Students stay in halls of residence. So you make friends lifelong. Even if they are off campus, you can still make friends. At least you interact in the classroom. Then increase marketability and increase earning potential, personal growth, and improve self-esteem, higher job satisfaction if you have a university degree. Otherwise, if you're in the civil service, they may say if you don't have a university degree, you cannot rise beyond a particular grade level. But if you have a university degree, the sky is probably your limit. Not everybody will get to the top, but you have the possibility. And positive return on investment. It can prepare you for a specialized career. If you want to be a pharmacist now, I mean, you have to go to a university, for example. Reduce benefit dependency. You can develop your life skills and build self-confidence to become a strong and independent individual. Then there is intergenerational and social mobility. Then that's a well-being. Then beyond the individual. And all these have implication for even funding. I know maybe in the 50s, in the 60s, many communities in Nigeria, they used to send their brilliant secondary school boys and girls to university. So the whole community will sponsor their young men and women to university to earn a degree. Maybe when they come back, they come and establish a secondary school and they become principal, because they think is very important. So it benefits the community. So the business community, they are interested in applied research. Then matching business, they need to graduate skills. I mean, so you can see some of them, they advertise for internship and the rest of it, just as ways of improving the skills of the students while they are still in the university. Then quality higher education and training is crucial for economists that want to move up the value chain beyond simple production processes and products. Then business space. The business community, they are interested in knowledge transfer. Then continuous professional development. Then beyond the individual and the business world, the nation, in our case, Nigeria now, today's globalizing economy requires countries to nurture pools of well-educated workers who are able to perform complex tasks and adapt rapidly to their changing environments and the evolving needs of the production system. You know, many serious nations in the world, they take the issue of ranking of their universities seriously. In 1985, I was in Kwara State. I met an Australian national who I worked together at Bywater Shelabia. So I asked him, where did he earn his degree? He said, of course, that he took all his degrees in Australia, that there was no need for him to go outside Australia because Australia had very good universities. So you can see the prestige that your country has will also partly depend on how highly rated your universities are. Business profitability and productivity, then the reduced demand for services. If many of your countrymen and women are far from you to go to university, then reduce interactions with the criminal justice system. Then the reputation of your nation abroad. Maybe when they release the ranking of university, you find that most of them are from the USA, UK, Australia, Canada, just the developed world. And when it comes to Africa, you see that the best ranked universities are inevitably from South Africa. I remember there was a time I was in South Africa. Maybe I was deputy vice chancellor there, and the VC of University of University were together. In South Africa, I was telling me that when we our universities, whether Ife or UI, where both of us came from, ever reach this standard of South African universities. Of course, it's a lot of investment. Then greater tax base and earnings. If many of your people have had opportunity to go to university, the role of university in the past, education to generate new knowledge through the research work that they carry out, then to transfer the knowledge that has been generated to the public for the benefit of society. Remember we said improvement in the standard of living is a major reason why most serious nations take their universities seriously. Now there are additional rules for universities in terms of fundraising for research projects, evaluation of technology, protection of research results, then commercialization of research results, because we haven't accused that most of the research work we do in the university will just be gathering dust on the shelves. So commercialization is becoming important. Licensing negotiation, increased collaboration with industry. Many universities now have a school of business, technology marketing, entrepreneurship development. We also have Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, the incubation of spin-off startups, the intellectual property training for researchers. Then specifically now, for us as academics, some of the teaching responsibility that we have to do, you have to design the course materials. I mean, your HOD or the committee has assigned you to teach a particular course. Then you have to look at the course material. Of course, you have your faculty prospectus or the NUC documents, but you want to go beyond the minimum academic standard. Then you have to prepare the material for teaching new courses. If you have never taught a course before, and you are now assigned to, maybe the lecturer teaching it has gone on a sabbatical leave or study leave, then you have to prepare your materials. Then update the material for courses that you haven't been teaching before. There must be something new that you are going to bring on board. Then, and that's why some students who fill a particular course, they are supposed to repeat it the following year, but they won't be coming to class, forgetting that even if you were to be the same lecturer that is teaching the same course, there will be some new additions to the content. And if you are so good, why didn't you pass it the first time? Then you have to deliver lectures, seminars, tutorials, then assessment planning, then marking and moderating assignments. I mean, you give students assignment, you have to mark this, and it's difficult. Some of them have very poor handwriting, or unless maybe you ask them to submit the assignments in electronic form. But if care is not taken, they just use artificial intelligence, maybe ChatGPT, so you won't know whether it was the original idea. Course evaluations, teaching evaluations, peer evaluation. Then setting up and managing e-learning materials, paper administration, including timetabling requests, organizing placement practicals, then field requests, field trips, guest lectures. Then professional development, training, supervising postgraduate students, very important. Emails, responding to student queries. You have to mentor new students. Then in terms of research, you write grant applications, then gathering data, experiment surveys, field work, interviews, depending on your academic. But of course, in reality, you don't have more than 24 hours in a day. You still have to manage your time well. Then project management, including setting and managing budgets, grant reporting, analyzing data, interpreting data, applying theory, writing and publishing scholarly texts, such as research articles, and all of us do that. Writing reports, technical reports, books, book chapters, reviews, editorials. Then reading new publications, staying up to date. Then citation management. Academic conferences, we have to attend conferences. You submit abstract paperwork for travel. I mean, I was in Abuja most of this past week, where the Nigerian Academy of Science was organizing its 6th national conference. So it was nice. Even though I didn't have to present a paper, but I was able to chair one of the sessions. So at least I contributed, not just to clap for those presenting papers. Ethics, applications, consultations, reporting. Then research responsibilities. Research reporting, auditing, evaluation, disseminating data to the public, writing for the media. I'm sure many of us now have, I mean, we are visible whether on Facebook or LinkedIn or any of those other TikTok or whatever. Interview or expert panels, performances or creative output. Then you have to learn new topics in new areas. Of course, excuse me, why bother to write and publish? The goal of scholarly research is publication. If all you are doing, you have done excellent research work and it's not published, then it's unknown to people. Then publications are correlated with grant funding success. Of course, nobody is saying that you must have 1,001 publications, because to even get one publication takes a lot of resources, time and effort. At least make effort. Then publications are required for promotion and recognition. I think that is straightforward. Then no one benefits if results are not shared. You are not writing for yourself, but for your audience. The naturalist life would be a happy one if you had only to observe and never to write. Come to think of it, maybe you are in physics or chemistry or wherever, or you are even in clinical science. You just observe your patients in the hospital setting. You don't have to write. You just make your recommendations. But the problem, the elephant in the room is when you don't have to write. It's tough. And most of the time, you have to write, rewrite, revise, and all that. and that historically academic journals were published in print format by universities and learning societies. But now, maybe over the last 20 years, we have desktop publishing. Then with IT, people just do self-publication that you are not sure of the integrity. Those ones were, those published by universities and learning societies were characterized by stringent editorial practices with strong editorial board and peer review systems. Peer review may not be perfect, but it's probably still the best that we have, which make them authentic and therefore trusted among the researchers. So some of the functions will include registration, certification, awareness, archiving, rewarding. Then until mid-1800s, all papers were of the descriptive nature. Then in the mid-1800s, Pasteur introduced experimental papers that stress reproductivity, and which are now the rule. Then, of course, we should avoid the predatory journals. They exploit the academic publishing model for financial gain by providing minimal or no genuine editorial or peer review service. The Nigerian Academy of Science just circulated the paper now. They carry out the consensus study report on this publication in predatory journals. And I think more university appointment and promotion panels frown at this. They often prioritize profit over academic quality and integrity. Some of the characteristics of those predatory journals: lack of rigorous peer review, aggressive solicitation of authors, low or non-existent publishing standards, lack of transparency in the publication process, high publication fees, deceptive names. Some of them will be World Journal of something or European Journal of something. Lack of information on membership of the editorial board. They hijack the titles and websites of standard journals. They use misleading words such as international, journal, World Journal of something. Then low quality articles, with many typographical mistakes. Then plagiarized work, no focus. Then false, non-existent represented impact factor so that they can mislead people. No submission guidelines. They often have false claims of indexation of world journals, journals in world-recognized outlets. Then, of course, if somebody joins the academic as an assistant lecturer or lecturer, I think it's legitimate for him or her to want to progress. I think it's a natural thing. Then publishing a research paper is essential for career progression within the academia. If you have a robust publication record, it can lead to promotions, tenure, and other professional opportunities, which is a measure of your scholarly contribution to your field. When people do research, when you have to do proposal, but at every stage you must write. When you are developing your proposal, you write a paper on it. Of course, the final thesis may just be, the proposal is saying, I want to do this, but after you have done all your work, reading of literature, to find out what has been done before and where are the gaps, your field work, your database development, field research, analysis, revision of your thesis, then final submission. I will just mention this one as part of what I did when I was dean of postgraduate school. We have a code of practice and ethics for research degree program. I'm sure the postgraduate college now has modified this. Then when I was head of the department, we compiled the publications by our colleagues. And this was the first one, I think, in 2007 or thereabouts. There have been 2 other volumes after this, just to show what we are doing. And I think when we go for the conferences, we try to circulate this. Then when I was at the postgraduate school, we used to have problems when candidates were registering thesis, the title of their thesis. Then one day I went to Akure for external exam. I said, what can we do now? We have a problem staring us in the face. So we gathered our colleagues, brainstorm. Then we came up with this booklet, guidelines to write in a doctorate. You can see we were about 9 that contributed to that little booklet. We said the typical output of a paper, of course, we know all this: introduction, significance, what is known, what is unknown, the gaps. Then what do I hope to discover? Those will be your aims. How am I going to find it? Methodology. Then what have I found in terms of your results and discussion? Then so what? What are the implications? Then the process of research. When you have completed your research, then you prepare your manuscript. Then you submit your manuscript. Then the editorial board or editor-in-chief will assign to whoever is going to do it. If most of the time maybe they ask you to revise, then you resubmit. Then if it is as rejected, then you go back. But of course, you want it to be accepted. If it's rejected, it's not the end of this world. There's always another time. We are saying that scholarly writing should be reader-based. Like this short presentation I'm making, I'm not talking to myself. I'm supposed to communicate with you, the audience, who have spared your Saturday morning to listen to this. It must be purposeful. It should be accurate, clear, concise, precise, and simple. Then knowing invented words, few or if any, in terms of abbreviations. Then there are some ethical issues. These are the 7 deadly sins. You don't have to duplicate data manipulation, duplicate manuscript. You submitted an article to a particular journal, maybe you think they are delaying. Then you submit it to another journal. So that's a duplicate. Plagiarism, that's like academic theft. Author conflicts, animal use concerns, human use concern. I think these are also becoming more important. This was one of the major publications that we produced when I was at the postgraduate school. Methodology of basic and applied research. I think we're about 32 who contributed to it. Some of them who were doctors that time have since become professors. Unfortunately, a few have also died. Then you can see the reviewers' comments. You are going to get this after the presentation from Dr. Shitu. And we sent, the reviews, we got one from Professor Akinlo of Obafemi University. Many years ago, became Vice Chancellor of Redeemers University. His immediate past Vice Chancellor of Redeemers University, just to authenticate what we are doing. Then the other one was Professor Aneto, then the Dean of Postgraduate School at Futa. He later became Vice Chancellor at Elizabeth. Unfortunately, he's late now. There are 4 important questions. When we are writing our research work, what message do I want to convey? Then what is the right format for my message? What is the real audience for my message? Then what is the right journal for my paper? And the point needs to be made that where we have core competencies to do research work, but doing research and publishing is not the end of the world. It's part of the entire chain. So you have to go from research to policy, then maybe to practice. But the university academy is not in the position to do all those. So whatever we do should be able to influence policy and possibly practice. The who is an author, this should be decided before the work begins. And most universities now have a policy on the authorship of scholarly publication. I think we produced one at the University of Ibadan many years ago. Then you should be intimately involved in the work. Then for you to be a co-author, you should be involved in at least any 2 of these 4: experimental design, experimental execution, data analysis, manuscript preparation. I think this is more common with science-based work. I think people in humanities, most of the time, they don't have papers. Then you should accept intellectual responsibility for the work. The reasons why an academic should publish, when you need a PhD or MSc degree in order to get a job, or you to be hired. Then for your career, you still need to publish. If you want to become dean of your faculty or provost, your colleagues may want to say, "Oh, have you published before?" Or if you want to become a vice chancellor, they say, "You yourself, how many papers have you published before?" Education, its economy. Then your friends and colleagues, they also check the work. Then in terms of service, remember we said research and service. I think there's a lot of interference. Service responsibilities. We have to examine student theses and dissertations, then organize conferences, symposiums, seminars, career development, survey on professional associations. If you are an economist, maybe in a general economic society or whatever, you need to attempt to attend, having to be active. Even at your departmental level, maybe that's seminar coordinator, exam coordinator. Maybe the job is difficult, but someone has to do it. Serving on university committees or boards, collegiality, mentorship, and leadership, course advice, career advice, pastoral care for students. A student has not been coming to class. If you find out, maybe because he or she doesn't have money. Even if you're not in a position to assist, but it's good for you to be able to advise. You can also help in peer reviewing journal articles, editorial roles for academic publications, then the other public or community service. Then you write recommendation letter for students, even for your colleagues and collaborators. They assist, they contact you. So it's good for you to help them. Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, Prof.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, you have to maintain your profile on the web and social media. Then you can also write evaluation reports. Then, I mean, we just try to break it down for lecturer. Of course, it's a lecturer that we also become a senior lecturer a few years down the line. I mean, he or she is responsible for teaching, research. I mean, it's not much different from even what the professor does. I mean, he or she has to attend all departmental and faculty meetings, and it's similar to all this. There's no lecturer, just a continuation. And the professor, I mean, that's like the highest position in the university. He or she is expected to provide general academic leadership in the department. It's also to teach and supervise students. You cannot say because you are a professor now, you don't want to teach again. You must still teach and supervise students, whether undergraduate or postgraduate. In fact, in most universities, the senior professors are supposed to be teaching those at 100 level, who are just coming straight from secondary school. You have to lead in development and implementation of the university research strategy. Then in research and collaborative partnership with other educational institutions. Then you have to provide mentorship to junior faculty. I mean, they are green aunts, but they have the potentials to excel. Then you also have to contribute to the publication profile. Maybe when you finish your PhD, you are the lead author, then your supervisor was the second author. But when you now become a senior person, you also publish with your students. So your student will then be the lead author. I mean, you don't even need, I mean, if you are now a professor, you don't really have to worry so much about impact factor in the journal. You have to provide leadership. Then you have to attend and present papers at national and international conferences in order to disseminate information and contribute to the body of knowledge. Then you have to challenge teaching, foster debates, and develop ability of the students. You have to encourage the students. Then you supervise students' field trips as applicable and where appropriate, placement of work. Then you have to set, administer, and mark student examination to ensure teaching content and delivery methods are up to date in relation to the requirements of the industry. That's why we do curriculum review. I mean, this one, I just put the inaugural lecture that we presented by our head of Department of Chemistry, because bullet M, I say you have to present inaugural lectures when you are called upon. I think it's important. She's the first female to head our Department of Chemistry in all of the 76 years. Well, this one is just, I mean, so that you don't think I myself never gave. I gave in February 2010. I mean, this was one of the pamphlets we produce on writing research proposals. As a mentor, you have to act as a mentor, coach, role model to students and other staff. Then you have to adapt to policies of university in teaching, research, and community service. You have to assist and provide general guidance to students in preparation of manuscripts for journal publication. Even to write a CV, you'll be surprised, but people don't even know all those things. You and I also learned by trial and error. But if you can consciously mentor your junior colleagues how to write a CV or resume, I think it will go a long way. Then you have to act as an ambassador of your university through your work in research and development. Then you have to attend all departmental and faculty meetings. I alluded to this before. You should not think you are too big. That even if the current head of the department is your former student, now you must, you should still attend the meeting. Otherwise, they can give you a query. Then you can serve as external examiner in a sister institution if you are invited. Then, of course, external assessor for candidates seeking a promotion in sister universities. Then what we expect our students, they have to be subject specialists. Maybe somebody is BSc psychology, investigative, independent, and critical thinkers. Remember, we said as a university academic, you are paid to think. So you have to also pass this one to your students. Then they have to be resourceful and responsible. They must be effective communicators, confident, adaptable, experienced collaborators. They have to be ethically and socially aware. Then they should be reflective learners. Then the academic leaders are all those who have the capacity to effect change, and they are part of the executive team. They must understand the institution. Then they have a future vision for it. Then they have to bring this about in a consultative manner. Then some of the requirements, being able to communicate when information is presented, be able to read and understand, speak and write so that others will understand and pay attention. Then listen and ask questions. Then share information. Then manage information responsibly. Then think and solve problems. Then personal management skills. Then you have to demonstrate a positive attitude. I mean, you'll be excited. I remember even as a lecturer 2, lecturer 1, one of my friends said anytime he saw me teaching at the postgraduate lecture room in our department that I used to be very excited. And what am I going to do? The salary was not good, but by just complaining and complaining, I will just frustrate myself. So, I mean, if so far as that was the job I was occupying at that point in time, I had to be cheerful and hope for better days. Be responsible, set goals and priorities, balancing work and personal life, assess, weigh, and manage risk. Be accountable for your actions and the actions of your group. Be socially responsible and contribute to your community. Be adaptable. You have to work independently or as a team player. Then, as much as possible, you have to multitask. I understand the female staff, they are better at multitasking than women. Select and use appropriate tools and technology for your project. I mean, technology keeps changing every day. Adapt to requirements that are changing. Be able to respond constructively to change. Continuously monitor the success of a project. Then you learn from your mistakes. We all make mistakes every day, but the important thing is for us to learn from it. Be innovative and creative when exploring potential solutions. Then we have to continuously learn. I tell people, as at the time I left University of Ibadan as an undergraduate, I never saw a computer. I mean, what was in vogue then was just a mainframe computer where they use punch cards. For those of us who are not in computer science, we didn't have access to it. So you have to learn. So, but a few years down the line, I typed my PhD thesis by myself. So just to show that between the BSc and MA, PhD, things had changed for the better. Set your own learning goals. Then plan for your learning goals. In the words of a former Vice Chancellor of University of Oxford, he said that success is never an accident. It is achieved by a relentless pursuit of excellence, creative brilliance, and deep commitment to enduring values. Then as academics, we need to have a coaching mindset. We should adopt this in order by working alongside students to help them develop their skills and knowledge. The goal is to foster growth and learning, rather than merely assigning low grades as a measure of failure. I mean, there is no point saying that 90% of the students in your class failed. Hey, me, yourself as their boss, you have failed. Never see high-performing students as threats. Academics should never penalize students for excelling out of envy or insecurity, as this reflects a lack of confidence and professionalism. Instead of nurturing talents and celebrating excellence, they see high-performing students as threats. It's not just enough that to say, okay, when I was there, I scored B in that course. So then no student of mine will ever score any greater, better than B. Your students are supposed to be better than you, for crying out loud. Proper training instills the humility and dedication required to mentor our students. Then at University of Ibadan, we've been having an induction program for new academic staff. And one point that we try to stress is that for all lecturers to imbibe the culture of academic humility. And one has since found out that thoroughbred academics are never proud. You should know that the more you know, the more you find out that there's still much more for you to know. I used to counsel them against falling into the perception trap, which make many students accuse our colleagues, rightly or wrongly, that some lecturers come to class to boast that no student can score A in their courses. C is for the intelligent students, B for the genius, and A is for God. I think this is not good enough. My personal experience, I mean, as an undergraduate, one of my lecturers as an undergraduate told me that no student could score up to 70% in his course. And I since found out that this was not an isolated example or experience. But of course, he was not trained as a teacher. And to that extent, it was perhaps none of his priority to implement a student-centric examination. So it's not that if he was being a sadist, but he didn't just figure it out that he should encourage his students. He said no student of his could score A. So as a lecturer, you no longer a sage on the stage. Rather, he or she is a guide by the side. I've spoken for about 51 minutes. There is something that I've said in the last 51 minutes that if you Google it, you cannot find out. So there's nothing that I've said there that is new. Maybe just the anecdotes and the personal experience that may be peculiar to me. So the important thing is that when you are teaching students, they are trying to Google you to see whether this man is talking rubbish. So don't ever let us assume that we know better than them. Of course, we have the experience. That's you were saying that if a child thinks it's as experienced as, if you have many new clothes as the adult, but the child doesn't have as many rags as the adult. Of course, nobody likes to wear rags anyway. It behooves those of us who teach in higher education institutions to change such mindsets. A lecturer is a guide on the side to his or her students and not an all-knowing sage on the stage. He or she has a duty to bring out the best in the students while mentoring them. It serves no useful purpose, marking down your students intentionally by showing that they score a poorer grade than they actually deserved. Of course, nobody is saying that if a student deserves 50, then you just arbitrarily change it to 75 No, I mean, that will not be sustainable. And nobody is ready to defend that. In the reference that I made earlier, I found out that I actually, later when I saw my results, I got 64%, which by our grading system in UI, as of that time, I don't know what that is saying now, is B. And he said B was reserved for genius, but I'm not a genius. I narrated this experience at a conversation with one of our colleagues, Professor Olayinka, who used to be Dean of Psychology. He said what our lecturer has done inadvertently was to make sure that the highest mark was 69. So it's like I scored 64 out of a maximum of 70. Since he said nobody could score 70, no matter what. So 64 out of maybe maximum of 69, not even maximum of 70. Because his own imaginary highest mark would have been 69. So you can see that it's not good enough. And that's why at times, those of us who are in the public university, we accuse those in the private university that they dish out too many first class. I mean, I don't know how the details, but again, it's also not good if all your students score D or E grade. If a student deserves A, give him or her A. There's no point trying to be miserly with it. So a good mentor, sorry, a poor mentor will remove the ladder. Doesn't want anybody else to climb. But a good mentor will offer a helping hand to others. I mean, that's the way it works. Now I'm at University of Ibadan. Some students, even some lecturers now call me daddy. They even embarrass me. But I guess that there are also people that I call daddy because they are much older than me. Some of them taught me as an undergraduate. I think that is the way life goes. As the professor is retiring, then the system should also employ young blood, 25, 30-year-olds as lecturer 2, lecturer 1, who will take over from the icons who are in the system. Nobody is going to be in the system forever. I mean, retirement age is 70. Even they increase to 80, so people will still be lucky to live up to 80. So someday they will still retire. But you need the new blood to take over from them. It should be a continuous something. Like in my department now, we have about 12 professors out of 19. So we find out that it's an inverted pyramid. And that's because the system has not allowed us in the last almost 10 years to employ more people. And as of 2010, when I left as head of the department, we were also 19, even though only 2 professors then. So the number has stagnated. We have a few people have joined, but some have retired. Unfortunately, we lost some people too, quite unfortunately. A strong mentor will demand excellence. He or she will instill discipline and ensures that the postgraduate students are equipped to contribute meaningfully to academia and society. Mediocre work is not acceptable under any guise. Education thrives when the focus is on helping students to succeed, not simply evaluating their shortcomings. Don't be looking for shortcomings. Look for their strong points and encourage them. A well-trained academic understands that integrity and rigor are non-negotiable. Cutting corners, whether in research, teaching, or assessments, will erode the credibility of academia as a whole. Oral presentation, like this one now, in order to display mastery of the subject matter, academics should have confidence to discuss their work without over-reliance on pre-prepared materials. Then public lectures are the integral part of the academic life because they provide a platform to share knowledge and engage with the public. Academics should not shy from this. Bear in mind that the ABC of such public presentations, A is appearance, B is your behavior, then of course C is the content of what you are presenting. So we, as academics, we like a change of ideas and the ability to defend, question, or build upon philosophical arguments. There is always a need for critical thinking and strengthening of interdisciplinary perspective. Of course, that is one of the main forte of AfriScience network. Through scholarship, transcends societal division like ethnicity, religion, and race. We are all created by God and race, while seeking to promote diversity, inclusivity, and unity, while addressing social issues with nuance and objectivity. We must have passion and enthusiasm for the discipline. Never mind that our take-home pay cannot take us home. Trading should see a good sense of curiosity and commitment to one's field, which serves as the foundation for sustained success and impact. The pursuit of knowledge is the essence of academia, and the genuine academic thrives on curiosity and discovery. Without this passion, our work becomes a mere routine. It's mechanical, uninspired, and restart from a reality. We have to continue to read. It keeps us informed of advancement in our field. While writing, we also have to write. It allows us to contribute to our humble insights. A lack of enthusiasm for these activities points to inadequate training or a deeper disinterest in academia itself. Yeah, like I noted my experience on the UI WhatsApp platform. One of our professors, unfortunately, is late now, not in UI, in a sister university. He said that one of his greatest regrets was that as soon as he became professor, he didn't publish again because he thought he had suffered for too long before becoming professor. So as soon as his probation was announced, he gave up. Even though he was still in the system, he had not reached, I think that time 65 years was the retirement age. So he said it was the greatest regret of his life. So as a professor, you should still try to do research. I mean, also, the pressure is no longer on you that you want to, your paper is going to be considered at the next meeting of the Appointment and Promotions Committee. Of course, you have to guide and mentor students. And if you do a good work, I mean, you may have 1 or 2 publications within 2-3 years. So that is fair enough. Francis Bacon, an English philosopher, statesman, and scientist, he said, reading maketh a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. Then the trait of scholars, I have 2 minutes more. I was given one, for 2 minutes I will finish. As a straight examiner, anything after that is exam malpractice, if I exceed the time. Insatiable task for more knowledge and a vigorous and relentless pursuance of research. We need self-discipline and ethical integrity. Then we also have to contribute to academic excellence in the chosen field of study. In fact, I just want to mention this. That is a senior colleague of mine. He said he was in UI. Then he got a government appointment. But even while he was in government service, he was still doing his research work. He now put in for promotion. And maybe some people were envious of him. They said, oh, how can he have so many publications within 5 years when he was actually in a government employment? So the faculty now set up an investigative panel. They said 2-3 people on the panel go and look at his publications. What they now found out that there was a consistency in the way he writes, the focus, just to show that he had focus. So one work was building on the previous work. The next one was building on the number 2. Number 4 was building on number 3. That was how he was exonerated. Just because he had focus, not just to be having salami publications, you had this one, you had that. You must have a focus. I mean, that was why I tried to bring out that. I narrated this experience to me recently when I visited him at home. That people must have research focus. I know at the University of Ibadan, when we are considering our colleagues for promotion to the grade of reader or professor, there must be a 1-page written about your research focus. We don't want you to become a professor of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Tell us your research focus, where you have been able to move the frontiers of knowledge. You alone cannot solve all the problems of humanity, but at least show us your contribution. There must be a high sense of decorum to attract and command respect from your colleagues and society. Well, this is just talking about African proverb. As if you want to go quickly, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. Like I said, I wouldn't have been here this morning now to interact with you if not because of my colleagues who brought me on board. So I thank them. Then we have to rethink leadership because as academics, we are also leaders. Because if you're an assistant lecturer, especially when there's a dearth of staff, they ask you to supervise a BSc student. So you are already mentoring students, even while you yourself is being mentored by the senior lecturers, leaders, and professors. Our future leaders, they will need to be more compassionate and emotionally intelligent. You have to show passion in terms of intense enthusiasm, which will contribute to the ultimate team success. Then there must be intellectual honesty. Then we show intellectual humility. Then you must persist. You must be persistent. You must have grit. You must be a systems thinker. You alone cannot solve all the problem of humanity, but make your own little contribution and be part of that ecosystem. Then you must show empathy. Where this just train the various type of various stages, rather, not types, from a non-leader who lacks competence, then to the second stage, who is conscious of leadership skills. He or she is incompetent because he has not acquired necessary. Then conscious competence, that's the stage 3. He or she is aware of leadership skills and competence, which has been acquired through training and practice. and receives positive feedback about performance. Then we want all our early researchers and postgraduate students to become leaders, whereby they're able to exhibit leadership skills involuntarily, just come to them as second nature. And people will think they possess extra-rational powers. I've taken so much of your time. Exactly, I spent 62 minutes instead of 60. So I apologize for overshooting the time by 2 minutes. So I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Olayinka. I think you have finished on time because you started lately. And thank you so much for this interesting webinar talk. And I think without wasting much time, I will go ahead and open the door for question and answers, contributions as well. I can see some hands, 3 hands raised up already. May I start with Olasoji Julius, please? Could you unmute yourself and speak, please? Hello? Olasoji Julius, can you hear me, please? Can you unmute yourself and speak? You have to unmute yourself. Okay, let me go to the next person on the list. Gabriel Ogunshola. Gabriel.
Sorry, well done, Prof. It was a nice presentation. Actually, I don't have any questions, so I just, the reason of that was a mistake. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. The next person on the list is Yahya Umar. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is Yahya Umar speaking. Thank you so much for this beautiful presentation. So I want to ask if the slides can be shared.
Yeah, fine. I'm going to share it across all platforms of the AfriScience network. I think, are you a member of the AfriScience network?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Larry Olajuwon.
Thank you so much. This is a wonderful presentation, but I don't know if Prof is still online, but I'll still ask my question. Now, looking at the academia, you know, I'm a graduate, you know, currently a doctorate degree student, but in the course of my second degree, I realized that in the Western countries like the United States, for example, they have a lot of funding. And I think probably how they generate that funding is that I think they have private companies, you know, having a problem and bringing that problem to the university. Thank God for what you said initially that in Germany, they see the academics as the next after God. And I think in the Western world, that's what they do also. When they have a problem, maybe in engineering, in medicine and all of that, they bring this to the university. And then from there, they release a fund for that. And then the PI, that means the person that's supposed to be the principal investigator, you know, gets recruit students, and that's how they get a PhD student. Like, okay, for anybody interested in doctorate, okay, there's a funding and there's a work. If you are motivated, this is the problem I want to solve and all of that. But realize in Nigeria, there's nothing of such. Or perhaps if is there anything of such, or is there any process that we can adopt that into our educational system? So I think it's going to help a lot. So I want to ask this humble question, sir.
Yeah. Do you want me to respond or take all the questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, I want you to respond to the questions. Why is it that we don't have enough of that in Nigeria, whereby we have, private individuals giving a problem to universities to solve, and from there, I think universities can recruit postgraduate students, you know, with funding and all of that.
Yeah, I think,
thank you.
Prof. Yeah, and Prof, I should have asked you, how do you prefer to answer your questions? Is it to take like the first 3 questions, or you want to respond
I think we can take the first three.
Okay, fine. Then let me go to the Charles Chinedu. Charles Chinedu was okay. Can you hear me, please?
Good morning,
Okay.
everyone.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Prof, for that insightful presentation. My question is, in the Western world, as you said, you see the lecturers trying to present publish a student's work. The lecturer takes position number 2 in that article in the publication, while the student is number 1. But here in Nigeria, you see, after the whole rigorous job the student does, the lecturer presents as number 1, and also the corresponding author without the knowledge of the students. So what is being done in this regard? And second question, most times you see lecturers trying to exploit a student. If you don't bring money, your work will not be read. They will just dump your work at the side. So what is the academic community doing in respect to all this? Thank you.
Thank you. And then the third question from Juliet Abba, please. Could you unmute yourself and speak?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Prof, thank you very much for the lecture. And somebody asked the first question I was about to ask concerning the funding. And okay, so I'll get the answer from there. Excuse me. So the second one, Prof mentioned that, so you mentioned that the execution, now if I don't know if I'm using the right words, talking about bringing research and then executing it is beyond the university. So it's like the university stops at the point of bringing up research. So how do those concerned now come in contact with the university? Or is there a platform, or is there any connection between the university bringing up researches that will help the society at large and probably the government or policymakers? So how is the gap being bridged? And then secondly, okay, sorry, please, concerning that plagiarism, you also mentioned that there is nothing you will say that is new. So how is plagiarism being assessed? How do they know? Is it based on documentation? For example, if you've documented something before, it becomes your own work and somebody else can't use it. Is it in terms of grammar? Like I could use your own idea in my own language and it's no longer plagiarism, or I just want to understand the concept of that plagiarism. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Prof, I think you can answer them.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, okay. I think the first one was from Dr. Larry Olajuwon. Yeah, that maybe we don't have enough funding support from the private sector. I think that is true. You know, because we are academics, we are from the university, but of course people talk of the triple helix model, whereby you need a synergy between those of us in academia, the industry, as well as government, at least as a minimum. And even if you're a publicly funded university, then you need money for and facilities for your research work, which the university may not be able to support you in full. So you need support from industry as well as the government. So I think it's not that as if nothing is being done. Maybe it's not enough. I mean, like in Nigeria, for those in public universities, I think they get some support from TED Fund. And most universities also try to strengthen proposal writing. Like you said, maybe in the north. I mean, not now, I'm talking of the Northern Hemisphere, America, Canada, European Union, UK, Australia, Japan, because of the level of development. So the funding that they have for research is far more than what we have here. So every now and then we see call for application from people come and do postdoc and the rest in other universities. I'm not sure many universities in Nigeria have a well-structured postdoctoral fellowship program. I know that the postgraduate college at University of Ibadan tried it maybe about 4 years ago, but the major problem is actually funding and sustainability of it, whereby, in fact, there was a time I was in South Africa, I think Pretoria, and I met one of our colleagues in UI, Professor Falade, of the Department of Food Technology. He was there for some time. I now asked him, Professor Falade, Every year, when you see the number of PhD candidates produced by UI, it's about the same number as that of University of Pretoria. But when you look at the research output of University of Pretoria, it outstrips that of UI. In fact, I didn't have to think about the answer. It says because universities in South Africa, in this particular case, University of Pretoria, they have facilities for postdoctoral fellowship, whereby they advertise this. People come from all over the world. You spend 2 years, 3 years, some even spend up to 5 years. All you are doing is just research. You are not teaching students. So the academics, but they concentrate more on research. They hardly teach. So they are postdoc fellows. You hardly see anybody in Ahmadu Bello University saying that he's doing, somebody from UI saying he's doing a postdoctoral fellowship University of Port Harcourt, or somebody University of Calabar saying he's doing postdoc University of Jos. And it's mainly because of this lack of capacity. Of course, even if they are ready to pay you, you go to the lab there, the electricity supply is epileptic. So apart from the funding, then the facilities, the enabling environment, so it becomes a challenge. So you find that we are not even talking of universities in UK or Germany or US, but even in South Africa, you find out that the funding, I understand even in South Africa, when you publish in a recognized journal, you get some credit for that. They may not be in cash, but you can use part of the money to attend the conferences or to subscribe to academic journals. So funding is a major challenge. And it also, of course, related to that is the issue of the facilities. And like I said, most universities now, if not all universities, they try to strengthen the capacity of their academics by mounting workshops on the proposal writing, so that they can get people from NIH, from WHO, or from UNICEF, or even in Nigeria, from the few funding agencies. But maybe you can still do more. Then the second question has to do with from Dr. Charles Chinedu. He said when maybe if I've supervised a student now, and then I put myself as the first author. I think on one of the slides, we alluded to what does it take for you to even claim co-authorship. If it's a BSc student, like I said, in some cases, students can publish from their BSc. I once had a very brilliant BSc student. We published from his work. I must confess that in that particular one, I designed the project, but he did the work. So I was the lead author. But when he now came for masters, he was now more involved. So the one we did for his BSc was Olayinka and Amidu. But the one he did for his MSc was Amidu and Olayinka. He has matured. He now went to Baylor University in Texas to do his PhD. Of course, I was not part of the supervision of his PhD. So when I finished my PhD, we tried to write some papers. I left the manuscript with my PhD supervisor. Other authorship, I left that authorship column blank. But when he was going to submit it to the journal, he now put Olayinka and Baka, which I think was the fair thing to do for the PhD. So it was Olayinka and Baka. So if I now supervise a PhD student, I think it would be unfair for me to now say it's my Olayinka and Chinedu, just for purpose of argument. If it's your PhD work, then it should be Chinedu and Olayinka. More so if I'm now a senior lecturer, or a reader or professor. So maybe I don't even need that one. But you are just an upcoming scholar. So you probably need it more than myself. So what I need to be, why do I need to be first author in any paper now? I mean, I have to attend so many meetings and I'm involved. So if the students have tried to supervise him or I will be too glad for him or her to be the first author while I'm the second author or the corresponding. He or she should be the corresponding author. I think it's just for us to be honest. I mean, what comes round, what goes round will come round. So the person who is first author today, like I said, for the paper published with my supervisor, I was the first author. So when some years down the line, maybe 5-10 years down the line, when I became, I was now in a position to supervise students, it'd be unfair of me to now insist that I should be the lead author, knowing full well that this gentleman spent 4 years cracking his brain while I just provided the guidance. I mean, that's just my honest position. But lecturers exploiting students, well, I know that some lecturers try to sell handouts, but I think it's the onus of it's on the Senate of each university to clamp down heavily on that. Even when we're earning 500 naira, 600 naira per month, I never sold any handouts. And I must confess that I spent 4 years at University of Ibadan as an undergraduate. I never bought handouts for once. I never bought handouts. So it will be unfair for me now to find myself as a lecturer in the same ecosystem to now be exploiting students. But I think it's the wrong thing to do. If I wanted students to buy my book or work, then I go and publish it as a book. Published by UI Publishing House. It becomes a proper book that can be referenced. I think just the ethical expectations. I think the onus is on the senate of each university to know what to do. Maybe it's not so rampant. I mean, I hardly hear of a student lecturers telling handouts again at University of Ibadan. I hardly hear of it, but it used to be there before. But the Senate frowned seriously at it, so it was outlawed. Then Dr. Julius Abba also mentioned something about funding, which we have addressed. The thing is that we said that the major functions of the academic is teach, research, and development, and community service rather. But the truth of the matter, I also mentioned the fact that if you have done a good piece of research, maybe you are happy it's published. But it's just a starting point. We want to take it to innovation, to development and innovation. Most universities now, like University of Ibadan, we have a Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. We even have an intellectual property and technology transfer office. So they collaborate with NOTAP. We cannot do everything alone. And the point was we made that we all know that we are great. Just like the question asked by the first contributor, Dr. Larry Olajuwon, and also Dr. Charles Chinedru, that funding is expensive. But studies have shown that for every dollar you spend on research, you need $10 to take it to development stage. Then you need $100 to take it to innovation stage. So we don't pretend as if once we have done our own piece of research, it's automatically going to translate to improvements in the standard of living or economic development. So it's part of that ecosystem. You have to go from research to development to innovation. Of course, leadership is not linear. Market forces, we have, if we want to, maybe they're using bitumen now to construct roads. Now we want to come up with an alternative. That alternative that we are coming up with must be superior or it must be cheaper. So that's why, there's a friend of mine who is a professor of production engineering at University of Benin. I was telling him that, why are you complaining of money? I saw you building cars. He said the car is building is just, he has built. It's just prototype that that's not translated to it has not reached the level of innovation. So it takes time. And if you produce electric car, and they are producing electric car in Japan or in America, it's not going to be cheaper. So that now complicates things for you. If the product, the fantastic product you have come up with turns out to be more expensive, then nobody is going to touch it with a long spoon. You ask me why is a Concorde plane developed by British and French engineers not a successful project? Yeah, because they said that if you fly, it reduces the travel time between UK and US. But people sitting in the plane will not be comfortable. So it wasn't a market success. Whereas you want to produce something today, next year you're able to produce 100. The year after, you are going to produce 100,000 of it. That's when it can become an economic success. So it's research, development, and innovation. And what to do in universities like the starting point. And so we also mentioned you can license it to a private company. And maybe they designed the Yam Panda many years ago. Then there's some Japanese now took it up, either the spin-off or the license. So we don't pretend as if the university is, all those big companies, they also have their own research and development units. And of course, they have more funds to play with. And they can even employ your PhD graduates into their research and development units. Of course, we're happy that they are alumni of your university. And you have given them the template. Then plagiarism, of course, if you have, if this has to be a research work, then you have to cite all the sources that you have consulted. I think that is the point. You cannot lay credit to, if I did something, then I will say I did it. And that was why I tried to show some of those publications that we produce. Of course, when you want to do a research, you must start with a literature review. To find out what is the gap. There's hardly anything that people have not done the related work on. Then what are you now bringing on board to show that is the value you are adding? I think that is the point.
Right,
I hope I've been able to attempt some of those queries. Anyone that have not addressed, you speak to Dr. Shitu. It's our boss.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you, Prof. Okay, I think I should take the last two questions. The first one by Dr. Femi Oyedoyin. Can you unmute yourself, please, and speak?
Okay, good morning, sirs. Good morning, Mads. Good morning. Okay, sorry, it's actually morning. Good morning, Professor. Thank you so much. I wish all professors could approach matters the way you just did. I am currently working on my second PhD here in Brazil, and I'm joining this webinar from Brazil. I have three questions, actually. Sir, I want to know how can young researchers start a career as a lecturer? For instance, I have been a teacher for several years, and even though what I receive as a teacher in a Cambridge school is more than what my colleagues receive in the university, I still aspire to be part of the university academia and to support my career. However, it seems there are very few openings in our Nigerian universities, and unfortunately, these few available positions often go to those with connections. And I believe some of us have a lot to offer to the academic system, but we are not given that opportunity. Yeah, that's one question. What can be done on that part, sir? Then the second question is, why is it so difficult to develop our laboratories in Nigeria? For instance, our molecular laboratories are very few and may not even support detailed molecular research. And yet, Nigerian researchers are excelling in abroad. They are using us here, but we could not impact in our own country. What can be done to improve our research facilities and infrastructures back home? Then my third question is, why are our research outputs not being utilized for economic transformation? For instance, many researchers in Nigeria conduct very good research work, groundbreaking research work, published in high impact journals. But yet, their research seems to be there is this gap between research and practical implementation for economic development. What can be done to bridge this gap? Because here we see a lot of research work. People are eating, they are feeding the nation from this research work. Unfortunately, in our country, after the research, what happens? We just drop the research and we let go. Maybe very few of it is being used, but I don't know, is there anything we can do as academia to improve on this gap? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Femi. I'm going to take the last question from Dr. Yahya Umar, please. Could you unmute yourself and speak?
Once again, good morning, sir, and thank you, Prof, for the beautiful presentation. I want to ask another question on that plagiarism, sir. That at what point can we say that this statement is being plagiarized? For example, I can make a statement during my own write-up, perhaps my manuscript. If that man, is it that all my statements, all statements made in research writing must be referenced, even if those statements are made by my own maybe out of my own philosophy or out of my own thinking? That is, where do we draw the line between plagiarizing somebody and making your own input in a research writing?
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, Prof, you can go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think the first one has to do with Honorable Dr. Frederick Udoyin, I think, who joined us from Brazil. He said he's working on his second PhD. Well, of course, I think Brazil, with all due respect, is a more serious country than Nigeria. So I think we have not shown enough seriousness. This is not trying to apportion blames. We all have to agree that we have not done enough. You know, I gave the example of comparing us with universities in South Africa. I think the metrics are there. And like you said, I mean, I don't, even as a professor now since when, I don't know, I don't even, I mean, what I spend in a month is like 3 times what they pay me. So I run up a deficit budget and I just hope for the best. So, and I think it's a general problem. How much are they going to pay? And there was a time when the highest paid professor in Nigeria, his or her take-home pay was like $3,000. But now I think it's maybe about $400 because of the macroeconomics. So, of course, with that, it's very difficult to attract new faculty members. And even beyond that, even where there are vacancies, government has made it extremely impossible to engage new staff, even those who are ready to take the meager salary. And like I gave the example, I mean, it may not be an isolated example, that when I left as head of department in 2010, we were 19 on the staff in the Department of Geology. Today, we are also 19. You can imagine, after 14 years. Even though now, like I said, it's inverted pyramid, almost everybody is a professor. Of course, they have been there for 20, 25 years, so they should have become professors by now, or reader. But government it's like a deliberate government policy that you should not engage your staff. And I mean, we have the statistics, so, and the number of students you are admitting is increasing, so the quality will suffer. So I think that is a general problem, that recruitment has been has stagnated in all federal universities, nearly all federal universities since 2015 to be precise. That was the year it became visits. Like they were waiting for me to resume before they clamped down on universities not to recruit. But I think the university will survive. It has survived up to now. And at least if you can make unsolicited application to a department with your CV, and if there are possibilities, I'm sure, because if they offer you a job, it's not so much as if they're doing you a favor. It's going to be win-win situation. Many departments now, they have to face accreditation every now and then from NUC. They don't have enough staff. So if there are qualified people, especially those who already have a PhD, I'm sure they will be in relevant disciplines. They'll be willing to offer. But unlike before, when it was fairly more straightforward for the vice chancellor to offer you temporary appointments, then things will be normalized. But it has been now impossible. But we won't give up. Then that also partly explains the poor state of the research infrastructure. Even if you have an atomic absorption, you have a SRD or whatever, a power failure is there. You don't have enough technicians or technologists. Of course, most universities now come up with the ingenious idea of having a central laboratory instead of duplicating, instead of University of Ibadan having 5 AAS. If there's only one, you put it in a central lab, because you don't even have enough technologists or technicians to man those equipment in various universities. So, but we don't give up. I mean, for a country with almost 230 million population, nobody is even sure of the population anyway. Depends on who you ask. So we think things can only get better. That research outputs are not being utilized. Not that they are not, if the research, a particular research work has been conceptualized in such a way that the private sector were carried on board, then they will be interested in the outcome of the research project. But if everyone is living in a silo, the university is there, government is there, the industry is also doing its own thing, then synergy will not be that much. But I mean, I think a problem well stated is absorbed. It's even good that we are discussing it on this AfriScience forum. There can be another seminar, maybe 2 months, 3 months ago, where you have a panel to address some of these issues. Why do we have low utilization of research output from our universities? Let 3-4 people speak to it. You can even bring people from industry. And like I said, our main
thank you very much
effort in the university is directed at then plagiarism. I think they have plagiarism softwares like Turnitin that can look at what you have done. I mean, to look at the similarity index and all that. I think there are guidelines. Like I said, there's hardly anything that is completely novel, that nobody has ever done anything close to that. But at the back of our mind, you know that if you are citing someone's work, as much as possible, you should make reference to that work, to give credit, give honor to whom it is due. You don't pretend as if it was your own original idea. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Prof, for you made our day already. And I always make this statement that if any of our audiences, if you are not part of the YouTube, I mean, we do encourage members to please kindly go to and subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you will get updates on our new uploads, and you can also watch our past webinars. For the past 21 webinars, I'm 100% sure that at some, I think in 1 or 2 or 3 lectures there are a lot of issues that were raised regarding plagiarism and also funding. In fact, our first 3 or 4 webinars were on writing grant proposals, and you can watch them, and they are very useful as well. You'll find them useful in addition to what Professor Idowu Olayinka told us today. Thank you so much. And without wasting much time, I would like to invite Professor Kehinde Shoitan for the vote of thanks and closing remarks for today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aminu Shitu. On behalf of the AfriScience Network team, we'd like to express our profound appreciation to today's webinar. We caught a bigger fish. We have been catching big fishes in AfriScience, but today we caught a bigger fish. Professor Abel, Idowu, Olayinka, we are very grateful for accepting our webinar.
Thanks.
Can you all hear me?
Hello.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, you're clear.
Yes, we can.
We can hear you, sir.
Comrade Prof.
Thank you very much, Professor Abel, Idowu, Olayinka, for this webinar. Despite the short notice and despite your very tight and busy schedule, we appreciate you, sir. And as projected, this webinar attracted the largest or one of the largest attendance, around 100 or thereabout. People participated. So we appreciate you, sir. And we also thank you for the suggestion you gave while answering one of the questions, that we can have a roundtable discussion in AfriScience Network. All our presentations have always been inviting a webinar. But this year we'll look into that so that we can have a panel discussion on topical issues of interest. And glad to also inform everyone else that Professor Abel Olayinka is one of our foundation members in AfriScience Network. The people that supported us, having them on our platform, speaks, so we cannot thank you enough, sir. And we hope that next time we invite you, you will answer our call. Thank you very much, sir. I also want to appreciate all the participants. If we call for a webinar and nobody attends, then the purpose will be defeated. So on behalf of AfriScience Network, we want to appreciate every one of us that took part in the webinar. Today's webinar is the 22nd webinar, and it's the first webinar for 2025. Our 23rd webinar will be coming up by the grace of God on the 8th of February, and it will be announced appropriately on all our platforms. Thank you very much for the time. So I wish every one of us a blessed and memorable weekend. Thank you very much. So this brings us to the end of this webinar. So
Thank you so much.
the slide will be shared across our platforms, and then this webinar will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, where you can easily access and listen to it over and over. Thank you.